What up, guys?
That's my terrible cry with a pulled glute.
You want to tell people what you were doing that you pulled your glute, man?
I'm gonna after I share this podcast. Monday grind.
Welcome, guys, to the Day One $0 podcast.
Grr.
It is Monday. No clue what day it is.
Great guy on today.
What do we got, man? I'm excited for this one.
Hey, long history with the U.S. Postal Service.
Yep.
He's going to be able to give us a great perspective on what's going on and how to get your mail right now, and even a better way on how to enhance it. So it's just a great way. I love him. He's done a lot for me. His name's Gene Volpe. It's another option instead of mailing your envelopes to someone else. Or it could be Gene Volpe. It could be Gene Volpe. Either way, he's an awesome guy. He has busted my ass since the day he probably even saw my stupid face on Real Estate Uncensored. And I remember the first laugh that he gave me. It still haunts me to this day. And it was super encouraging, but super, I cannot wait to mess with this guy through a telephone or video because he can't come chase me down.
Hell yeah.
And he's been a great connection since we've gotten this thing started as far as the podcast. I'm going to let him I'm going to let him elaborate and just go into what he does as far as marketing and how he helps people. But super great guy, super excited to have him on. If your children are around or if you have a thin sense of humor, skip this one, go somewhere else. If you are buckled down for something like this on a Monday and you're thinking, fuck it, this is probably a good podcast for you,
we'll get after it. Gene, what up, man?
What's up, my man?
Yeah, what's up, boys? I don't know why, but I feel like I just averted a disaster. I was expecting something way worse than that, and you actually laid it out there like you like me. That was weird.
Well, I got to lay it out like, poor me. Gene's a bully. How could he think it's appropriate to bully a veteran and just kind person as myself? I got to set the stage. That's how that works. So it's for a reason. I don't actually like you. I just need my audience to sympathize with me, if that makes sense.
I can appreciate that. Okay, I like it.
What's up, man?
It. Nothing. Listen, we're doing this on a Monday, the day after Easter. Yesterday was, I know we talked a little pre-show. It sounded like you guys had a great weekend with the families.
Yes, sir.
And of course, I'm always wishing people, whether it's Passover or Easter or whatever it is, I hope everybody's doing what they can to spend this crazy time with loved ones, and I hope they're keeping their head on. I'll tell you, I don't know where this conversation is going to go. I think it's going to be a lot of free form and a lot of fun, but I will tell you, I don't know if you guys see this, but I am shocked at how many people are struggling with what's going on right now. Really? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going on in this world, but are you seeing that, or are you finding that people seem to be?
I'm not shocked. I'll tell you that much. I'm not shocked by.
Eli thinks everyone's a bitch, bro. He's just so quiet. He is so passive aggressive and just friendly on the outside, but then we'll get in the car and he'll be like, bitch. Well, he's a tough dude, man.
Very few people have been tested, man. Us as a globe have never been tested like this, obviously. Us as a nation, hasn't been tested like this in any recent times of any of our lifetimes. And just as a whole, man, most people have not been tested, nor have they tested themselves. So I'm not shocked by people's
I'm not shocked
reaction.
at people picking sides. I'm not shocked at people, reading the clickbait or just reading the title of some clickbait and then having some comments about it. I'm not shocked that people want to be heard. I'm not shocked that a lot of people have lack of action or lack of control in their environment, so they project it outward, and this just the complaining and things like that. And something that also didn't shock me, but it just gave me just a little bit more context to be patient and just really see what's going on. A lot of the folks that are like just having a lot of complaints are like, your rights are be taken away, and here comes World War III, or here comes all the conspiracies and how bad life is, and I'm obviously making a blanket statement. There's a lot of different things going on in the statement I just said, but I think you get the picture. Everyone's going through this together. I think everyone can at least relate to somebody of some form doing that, and if you can't, then you're probably the one doing that.
Yeah.
But then on Easter Sunday, I see people making the post of he's risen and what to be thankful for, and I go, hey, if you believe in that dude, Jesus, okay, everything that you've been talking about for these last 2 months about how bad it is or how toxic you're being or just the negative energy that you're putting out and not creating, even just in your own environment, whether it's with your direct family or just friends around you, to just not make a situation better, you are completely being contradictory to what you're thankful for.
You're talking about the same people posting the negative shit, and then the first thing they're posting Sunday morning,
being thankful for Jesus. And I'm like, hold on a minute. Like there's some perspective right there for you. Not telling you to believe in him, not telling you not to believe in him, but if there's anything that resonates with you in regards to religion or just your faith in what that guy endured, hopefully that you can, and if you're one of those, hopefully you can go back and go, yeah, I kind of am being like that. Maybe I should have a little bit more perspective instead of just shooting off at the mouth once in a while.
Yeah.
Because having that perspective once a year, I don't care for it. There's a lot of ideas wrapped into that, but that's where I took myself back a little bit and just looked at the barometer of just what's going on, and just I think people, when they're confined or when they're in that sense of unknown, being unknown brews a lot of fear, and I correlate that to like swimming. If someone doesn't know how to swim when they first get in there, the second, and they're trying to like back float or tread water, the second that water comes up over your ear a little bit when you're on, when you're trying to back float, or the second it kind of comes in your mouth a little bit when you're trying to tread water, you freak out. Yeah. And I think a lot of people with the unknowns are freaking out, and they're trying to find directions to just channel some of that energy versus just slowing down and just realizing like, hey, here's what I can control, here's what I can't, and then here's why I have influence. I don't have control, but here's where I can influence and use my energy. I don't know. What are your thoughts? And
you're East Coast, man.
Yeah, I was going to say, just for context of the podcast, where are you at right now, man? Just so people have an understanding of your lens.
And then while you're at it, give people your actual background so they don't all think you're still with the United States Postal Service.
I was hoping he'd ride that out. Gene-velope. I'm sure people were like, really, Will, on a Monday? Gene-velope? What a moron. We probably lost half our listeners when I said that.
Well, it knocked me a little bit because when you said it, I was like, wait a minute, what?
Where's he going with this?
When you started laughing, I got it.
I don't know why we see it. Look, man, I'm going to point some at you now. It's not my fault. I can't read. Change your logo. It looks like Gene-velope. Come on.
Yeah, no, I told you. I have shirts. I have black shirts with the logo in it, and I get people stop me on the street. What exactly is a Gene-velope? And I'm like, or it's my name, right? And think about all that I really need to do is just put a simple space in there, and that would eliminate everything. But you know what? Here's the way I look at it. If you're too stupid to read my name, I probably don't want you as a client anymore.
Now, hold on a minute. Stupid is a strong word. And I feel like if they made a silhouette of your gorgeous bald head and beard and you just put that logo in between the two words, it would be awesome.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Super awesome.
So I have one already. I'll have to see if I can share it with you before we leave this. So I'll give people a sense of that.
So before we get into COVID, because I want to give a little bit of context, but and just where your kind of lens comes from, I think what we should do is just let's kind of go from who you are, what you're all about, and what you do for a living, and where you're at with that. I think let's also kind of reverse. The second part of that will be let's reverse it a little bit and go back to what your literal day $1 zero is. It doesn't have to be like a hardship. Doesn't have to be whatever some people maybe make that out to be, but we're curious. We've never actually heard the story, which is why we do want to give some context here because we'll be hearing it first like everyone else. But what was that day $1 zero for you as far as starting something new or starting over and then venturing into what you're doing now? Where have you taken it? And I think that's going to give some great context to maybe speaking about the times with COVID right now and how people can get creative to still sustain, or if maybe you haven't gotten creative before, maybe how you can use some online stuff to change that business model a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm on the East Coast. I'm a Philly boy. I actually live out further. I'm western suburbs of Philly right now, about 15 miles. The place I actually live is called Newtown Square, but I always tell people it's Westchester because nobody knows Newtown Square. Some people have heard of Westchester, whether it be the Jackass guys like you did, right? You're like, oh, that's where the Jackass guys are from. So it gives people like a point on the map. I'm literally 4 miles from Westchester, right down the street. So like I said, I grew up in Philly. I'm a sports guy, Phillies, Flyers, Eagles, Sixers. I'm a homer. It's a long story, but I have a background in IT. So I managed at a Verizon for worldwide customers where we managed their networks proactively and we handled the maintenance on them. And so without boring people, in 2009, I was able to retire at 31. Gives you an idea how old I am.
Because Philly costs no money to live in because they're home of the Pirates and nobody wants to live there. So get it. Yeah. Continue.
Yeah. Listen, I didn't pick where I ended up, right? That's just the way it happened. But I do love it. Now, we always make a joke. I always say, like, people are like, do you know where Colorado is? And I'm like, look, if it's outside of Philly, it's the rest of the United States. I have no idea. It's Philly and everywhere else.
I like it. I like
some words for you.
I like it.
Continue. You're a guest today, so continue. sir.
Well, thank you. So the background in the background in IT led me to retire at 31. And it kind of, the way that it worked is I actually started investing in real estate. That's how this came about. And we started to build a company, build a consulting company that helped people understand how to invest properly in real estate. So I've been part of, I'm not a licensed agent, but I have been part of over 250 real estate transactions. So
like break on that real quick, buy and holds or, flips or what you talking about?
Yep. All of it. Wholesale contracts, buy and holds, partnerships, private money, on both sides of that, all borrowing it and lending it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was about to ask if that led to some lending, hence your retirement, or using your retirement to do some lending.
No, if I'm being honest, if we had multiple day $1 conversations, leaving my job prematurely probably would be part of that, right? And so this is not what I was going to use, because when we talked about me coming on this show, my wife calls me delusional. I call it optimistic. There you go. Like, you can't keep me down, man. I'm a super optimistic guy through all this. I'm extremely happy. I know that sounds awful.
I like delusionally optimistic. I think that's a good word for it.
I'm okay with that because listen, there are things that come up that should have a fierce reaction to it. Yeah. My wife is Sicilian, so that fierce reaction comes from that side of the family, right? Hell yeah. For me, it's just like, look,
I feel like you take your pain and your frustration out on me. I feel like everything. I feel like everything your wife beats you up for, because you just can't do anything about it. Like, you just take that out on me. I feel like I'm your punching bag now. I know where it comes from.
Well, I think now we understand your value, and I'm thankful for that.
Oh shit!
But I always tell people. So I made a killer salary there.
Yep.
And we left. I say we had a partner. Mm-hmm. We left there in 2009 to pursue this. And I said to my wife, I'm going to be foregoing my salary. But, and she said, listen, I don't have any idea what you're doing, but I trust you. Mm-hmm. And I took my 2 weeks, did my thing. And that first day, it was a Monday, I left the house to start my new career, right? Quote unquote, new career. And shutting that door, just closing the door. I could write a whole book on, as I stepped over the threshold, closed the door. And it was like the air was sucked out of the universe. And I went like this, holy shit, what did you just do? Right? Yeah. Because I was now standing outside of my house, realizing I had nowhere to go. I didn't have to go to work.
Yeah. So, and this was right after the market downturn as well. And you're starting this new venture.
So it was really, we hadn't felt that yet.
Okay.
So here's one thing about Philly. We owned a lot of properties here, and our reaction was, the way I remember it, it was somewhat delayed. And here's what I mean by that. Home prices and home values, we didn't get hit as hard as the rest of the country. We weren't overinflated. Yeah. So we didn't have to drop, right?
Yep.
So we didn't get hit hard there. Where we ended up getting hit hard was months later, when people started to lose their jobs and not be able to pay rent.
Gotcha.
We still had the properties with with very little depreciation, except the mortgage company still wanted the mortgages from people.
You were hit in a totally different way then.
Yes.
Right.
So that to me was a crazy expensive learning experience, right? But that, and not even that. Like I said, if we did day $1 on steroids, I probably got about 8 of them. Mm-hmm. That's not the one I was going to talk about today. But I got 8 of them. So just kind of to go back.
Well, we're on a podcast, Gene. So whatever you feel is relevant, man. This is why long form content is so pertinent, man, because you just never know which part's going to resonate. So dive into whatever you feel is necessary, man.
Well, I appreciate that. I think our time's going to be served with some of the better stories, right? Like, there's other things I think that will impact people more so than that. But what I kind of wanted to tail that into was, when we started that company, and during the process of building the real estate company, I realized, sitting around a real estate table at a closing, there was a lot more ways to make money inside of each real estate transaction. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just being the investor. It was also being the agent. It was also being the mortgage company. It was the title company. It was the marketing. It was the videos. It was there was a million things. And we opened up a video tour company in 2009 for real estate agents. Now, I probably don't have to tell you this, but there's still real estate agents that don't think they need video in 2020. Imagine what that was like 11 years ago.
Yeah, no kidding.
So Yeah, it was hard to pay the bills with something where people were like, I use my Nokia flip phone for pictures. I don't need your video.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And so, you probably see that today, right?
Oh, you still do, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
still see photos today where like they accidentally don't realize they're standing in a fucking mirror.
Or they do realize and don't give a shit.
Their hand is like popping through. What a nightmare.
I love that stuff. There's one of those bad real estate pics, and it's a guy taking a photo of his kitchen, and there's a reflection of him off the teapot. You see this one, and he's naked?
No.
It's amazing. Yeah, there's some really, really good.
The MLS didn't catch that, huh?
I don't know. Yeah. It could have been a plant. It might have been fake, but it was funny. So that's kind of how this marketing gig started.
Yeah.
One of the ways I realized you could make money in the real estate field was to have a marketing company. And then, I'm going to say this, but most real estate agents are tough to work with. So Imagine I quickly realized that I offered my services to real estate agents. The company was called Your Real Estate Concierge, which if you can see in the frame, you see the bow tie above me.
Yeah.
That was the part of the logo of the concierge. And then I transformed in 2017 to GVI Media because I wanted to branch out. I used to get people who would say to me, well, you only do real estate. So I had my brother call somebody else and I'd be like, no, I do everything. But the company didn't say that. So the branding was off.
Did you have a marketing background when you were or marketing interest? Like what was it that made you dive into a completely different industry or field?
The psychology. So as I was doing the videos for the real estate agents, there was something happening in the world, and that was print was starting to die. Not that it's dead, and I don't think it ever died, but there was a movement towards this digital advertising space is going to crush printing. And so I realized that most of these agents didn't know how to handle anything on the computer, let alone the marketing wave that was going to come through. And I realized with my IT background, I had the ability to close that loop for them. And I knew there was money to be made. So I was like, look, if I dive into this marketing and I'm able to help them with this new Facebook advertising while they're sending their videos out and while they're buying videos from me, and there was a lot of things all at once, I was like, I could make some money on this. And as I started to get into it, I realized that I was in love with the psychology behind marketing. And I started to really get into it that way. And if you think about the psychology, this is the one thing I always liked. I've been telling people for 11 years that I'm an expert in marketing. Right? And you just asked the magic question. Did you have a background in that or did you just come up with something out of the thin air? And I came up with something out of thin air. So think about how powerful that marketing is. I've decided to tell you guys that I'm a marketing expert and you bought it.
Yeah.
So that's what we do with any. You just keep telling people in this world that you are X, Y, and Z, and if you say it enough, they're going to believe you.
As long as you can actually fucking do it. As long as you can do it and you can perform.
Yeah. So comment on because I don't want people to because I see where you're going with that, and I just don't want people to think that fake it till you make it. You know what I mean? Because there can be a lot of manipulation there versus like, hey, understand it, guys. You got to keep it transparent. You got to be good at what you do because you're online. So the last thing you want to do is go get clients that are believing your bullshit and then you aren't good at what you do. So what's your approach? So you had an IT background, right? There's got to be some technicalities there that allowed you to prepare because I'm guessing, with your postal service background, you take pride in what you do. And there's no way you're calling yourself that if you're not at least proficient at what you're doing to the next level beyond. Like whether you actually considered yourself a professional or not, I think what we're trying to get is were you just leaps ahead of what other people were doing? So you kind of were that subject matter expert for what you were trying to offer? Yeah, to an extent. Here's why. So listen, unfortunately, I'm with you. I'm a good guy. I'm not going to lie to people. I'm pretty transparent, very transparent. I get myself in trouble all the time. I'm going to tell you the truth. I always say one of my favorite lines is from a Glenn Phillips song. He's, I won't tell you a lie, so be careful what you ask me. Right. And so like, when I say I'm good at marketing, I am, and I hate the word expert. I don't like throwing that around. I know that if you're 99% of this country, I'm better at it than you are, and I can help you with it. And that's not me flexing my muscles. That's just I've been doing it for a long time. That's great. And being able to use that word because it's simplistic. People can resonate with that word. And if you are like that subject matter expert compared to what they're used to, Gene, for the sake of the podcast, I want people to really understand the value behind you and just making sure that they don't take that one thing and run with it and think that they can go throw a word out there nowadays and that they should be expecting business from it. It could be the one thing that tears you down. when people
Well,
figure
here's the thing.
shit.
This is what I wanted to make sure we're clear. Unfortunately, I don't agree with what you just said. They can use that word. Here's the reality. You're good over time. You're going to get found out. So even if I said to you, like right now, I'm a real estate expert, right? And you guys are like, wait, I talked to this dude 20 times. He knows nothing about real estate, but he keeps telling people he's a real estate expert. 3 months from now, I'm not going to be able to call myself a real estate expert because guess what's going to happen? You're going to see reviews all over my page.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just so easy for people to either piggyback on that and go, yeah, this guy's awesome, or dude's a fraud.
So literally you can, right? Literal terms, you can use whatever word you want. I'm not trying to take your right. I know you're from Philly, the big bell with the crack in it. Not trying to take your rights. You can use whatever word you want. However, like that might be the one thing that tears you down.
But that's an important thing that people need to understand. And that's kind of the, maybe I think catch 22 is probably the wrong phrase for it. But that's just the funny thing about marketing in the digital era is you can fake it better than anyone's ever been able to fake it. However, you're also going to be exposed faster than anyone can be exposed.
So there's just responsibility behind using it. But I also think there's a lot of great people out there that do a great job that should maybe use that word more and stand up for yourself and be confident in your ability and get out there and crush it.
Well, and the other thing I want to point out, and that's why I asked you that question, because I had a feeling that your answer was going to be no, I didn't have any marketing background. But instead, you were around an industry, real estate, buying and selling your own properties and investments and whatnot. And you saw an opportunity, you saw a gap in the market, and you took what you had learned through IT and just technology and have an understanding of the digital era, and you're like, hey, I think there's some money to be made here. And that's what I want to point out to people is that you don't have to do something that you're proficient in. You can just, if you're keeping your eye out on markets and you're just paying attention and you're creative enough to just let your brain go and just think, where could I fill some gaps? I mean, you can literally just jump in and dive into anything, right?
Well, yeah, and here's what's fun about it. I think there's one element there that we skipped over, and I think it's important to make a mention of it. You're solving that, filling the gap is solving somebody's problem, right? So in my world, it worked this way. I was very good at IT, and I was very good with explaining to people the way, in layman's terms, what we were doing in IT.
Okay.
So let me
That's
tell you
rare.
what I mean by
That's super rare.
right? It really is. And so here's what it is. I was good enough to understand how things were done behind the scenes. So I managed a group of guys and girls that were, picture the top docs in the country for specific, say, neurosurgery. These guys were the top docs in our industry for IT. Mm-hmm. Like, I had guys on my team that were one of 6,000 people that held a credential in the world. Okay. Wow. So these guys were double, electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, like just brilliant people. But when you're in that side of the world, the personality is a little bit different. You operate differently, and it's hard for some of these guys and girls to have conversations with humans.
They're weird, man.
I'm not trying
They're fucking weirdos. Say it. They're weird in the nicest way possible.
Yes.
They're different people. Yeah.
Right. In the way that I communicate with people, I didn't have that gene to figure that stuff out. They did, but what I did was I was able to translate it. So my job with this company, a lot of what I had to do is they would send me over the country to explain to CEOs and their IT departments, here's what broke, here's what we did to fix it, here's how we can guarantee it's not going to happen again. Mm-hmm. And leave there with them comfortable with, okay, we just lost $1 million because our network was down for 48 hours, but here's why I know it's not going to happen again. And I could translate that to them in a way where they would say, we're not happy about it, but we appreciate the honesty. We appreciate what you've done and the efforts to fix it. Correct. Don't let it happen again. Right. So I was the throat to choke, basically.
Yep. But also the guy that kept him from just scrapping the team and getting somebody new.
True, in a lot of cases. Now, I wasn't always successful, and I got kicked around and kicked in the stomach a lot, right? Mm-hmm. But that's what I did. I mean, and I in 2009 I left, and people always said to me, "Why did you leave? You didn't like it?" And my wife will tell you, I would get phone calls at 4:00 in the morning from the West Coast.
People just losing their minds, right?
Losing their minds. I mean, Kaiser Permanente, I probably can't say it on here, but whatever. They were a huge healthcare system.
Rhymes with Kaiser Permanente. That's what we say in the Marine Corps if we're talking trash about something. Say, it rhymes with Kaiser Permanente.
Yeah. And I'm not talking trash, by the way. Yeah. They were one of our biggest clients, and they would call in, and my wife would say, how are you so nice to them on the phone at 4:40 in the morning? Like, they were yelling at you.
Babe, if you paid me, I'd be nice to you too.
But here's the other piece of it too. I loved it.
Yeah.
Like I did love it. Like every day was like in real estate, there was a brand new issue to deal with every single day. There was nothing stagnant. I didn't go into work like same mundane routine. I just loved it.
Right.
It was great. So when I left because I had these crazy illusions of building something for myself that was going to be bigger than what I could have done over there.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So going back to what I was saying, I was able to bridge that gap between the technology and real estate and help these real estate agents where I started to understand this is what it is. Here's how it's changing your industry. This is how we're going to do it. And I'll do it for you.
And be able to communicate it all. Yeah. And be able to
Yeah.
communicate all that.
Well, I'm huge. I'm huge on that. I'm not the guy that thinks that you have to have a certain education per se in a background. I'm really big on practitioners, right? I'm really big on, people that dive into an industry and they've got, a set of skills or tools that make them unique. So they see some things either early or from a different direction, and then they want to close that gap and build value and become a subject matter expert within that expertise. And obviously, like with my background, Gene, I'm not exactly what you might think of, when it comes to real estate, right? Or being a broker or whatever it may be. But when people have heard my story and we go over it in the podcast, it actually fits quite perfectly. And there's just, one of the biggest gaps I saw was they kept trying to get a client. And like they would go to teams and, oh, do you have leads for me? Or can someone give me leads? Or do I buy leads? They were so fixed on finding a client. In reality, getting a client was not the hardest part. You keeping your shit together and being professional and managing people's emotions and prepping them for a process ahead of time so they don't have these knee-jerk reactions because they're prepared for what's to come, right? We've gone over a pattern of typical things that do go wrong and fundamentals to approach something if it's the first time we've ever seen something. And then, ironically, we started closing 2 to 3 referrals per client, Gene. And I'm not talking getting their phone numbers. I'm talking we averaged 2 to 3 clients closed from referrals. And it was about, it's this process. It's not just getting someone, because I also had a lot of clients, Gene, that had other realtors before me. They were not first-time home buyers. This wasn't the first time they were doing a sell-buy, right? But then all of a sudden, like, not only did they use me, I became the guy that they were recommending, not the guy that had, that they knew in high school and that they had been friends with for 15 years. They trusted our side of the business, and it's about seeing that gap. But I saw it because I've been always so fixed on a process and preparing ourselves for what's to come the best that we can, whether that's for deployments, whether that's hitting the street as a cop, and then just understanding, even if it's not stressful to me, if there's a stressful environment, if somebody is stressed a 7 or 8 or 9 out of 10, even if it's a 2 for me, that doesn't matter. It's real for them. If it's a 9 out of 10 for this person, then you've got to treat it as such. But then you also have to understand if there's patterns there with clients, create a process that prevents that prepares them before you even go down that road. And we started realizing it. So I'm a big fan of how you find these niches and where you really help bridge these gaps within business. And a lot of bridges are the marketing and the execution behind these gaps.
Can I say something about that? Because I think you hit on a bunch of things, but I want to add one more thing to make you think. And I think this will be a good segue to where we're going. But, when in my world, and all right, let me start by saying this. Social media, what's going on right now with digital technology is putting people and their kids and this whole industry, every industry on its head. It's flipping it upside down. We've never had this before. This is still in its infancy. I mean, if you think about the things we've been doing as a race for thousands of years, we're talking, this is 8 years old.
Yeah.
Right? Like this social experiment is 8 years old. I would say to you 10 years ago, and I'm going to go back to what you said, Will, about how you don't fit that mold, right? If you go 10 years ago, the picture of the perfect real estate agent was some guy that would step out of a Beamer with nice cufflinks, great hair, probably in his 50s or 60s, has a world of experience, was slick, and not slick in a negative way, just was a good talker, right? And then social media rolled around and people started to realize that was probably a lot of bullshit. Yeah. Right. So like, it was like, wait a minute. And by the way, the unfettered access into your world allows me to really get inside your head and see what you're doing. And now it's become, I watch Eli on a regular basis, and
Well,
he's not a perfect human being, right? Wait, what did he say?
I guess you don't watch me because I'm already perfect. So you watch Eli because he's not perfect, or what?
Listen, you were standing up. It looked like you were farting or something. So I was
You know
just
what?
looking
Just-
at Eli.
hey, full disclosure, if you guys see me standing up, I did like 3,000 squats today, and I've got this percussion gun under the table right now, just getting the sand out of my
He's
what.
getting something done there.
Listen, man, I'm getting hard right now. Hey, I'm putting my little.
He's getting something
I'm putting
going.
my entitlements or my pain to the side.
I knew you were excited to see Gene, but my goodness, I just can't wait.
He just reminded me of Ron Burgundy. 899. 900. I don't know the song that I did 1,000.
Well, to my, to full disclosure, they were body weight squats, but there was like a trillion of them.
Trillion.
There's a
That's as high as I can count. I had to stop at a trillion, Gene, because that's as high as I can count.
Shit.
All right.
Too many zeros.
Yeah.
All right. So back to Eli. He's not perfect. You watch him and see how unperfect he is.
Well, that's why I left you out of it, because I know that you are perfect. So I was going after Eli.
boy.
So
He's gonna
You
get
know
me
his
later.
love language, man. You know what he likes to hear.
But I think now that we have this unfettered access, the type of real estate agents that you are and the kind of marketing guy that I am tends to be refreshing.
Yeah.
Because people are sick. Like if you say the word real estate agent, most people go like this. Yeah, okay, dime a dozen. Who cares?
Yep,
Like
yep.
I'll throw my hand up outside of the parking lot and go, I might have a piece of property to sell, and the same 48 guys and girls will come over to give me their business card.
100%.
So now you're talking about people that have dealt with other real estate agents, and you come in and somebody goes, whoa, that dude completely caught me off guard.
Yeah.
It's not he's all tatted up. He's an ex-SEAL. He's an ex-cop. He's an ex-gym owner. Whatever you are doing, that felt weird, right? And then when you sit back and you think about it, you go, I think I might want a different kind of the normal for me now. So now with real estate, I want a different agent. And I kind of like the way these guys resonated. I check them out. I have access to their worlds, and they're not perfect, but they're okay with it. They're transparent. This just looks and feels different. I can see now that they're getting work done. They have their own podcast. Maybe they'll market. They know what they're doing digitally. So there's so many avenues about what you were saying before, but also the new success has to do with me looking at real. If you're not real and you're perfect,
Yes.
I'm calling bullshit on most
Trust
of it.
is
And
everything, man, and it's
Right.
way more important than ever, because again, people aren't taken aback by the BMW and the fake teeth and the nice hair. Like, people need so much more than that now, because they have the options to go find out more.
Well, I think just something I've been talking to veterans about a lot, and just people in general, is it's not about how I fit into real estate, right? It's not about putting on the tie, and I'm not against suits and ties. I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying just be who you are, right? So I don't want to like go into an industry and figure out like, oh, how do I fit this industry? No. I got to figure out how this industry fits me. I've got to be myself. I've got to be capable. I've got to be prepared for what I'm doing. And the biggest thing, Gene, that we talk about is, and we mentioned it on the last podcast, I'm sure you're going to have some insight on this. Real estate is not multi-level marketing. I am not coming in and bullshitting you to take some new diet pill that has some stardust on it from Mars and you lose 10 pounds a day, right? And then you're like, fuck it, I'll try. It's my friend. Now he wants me to sell the crap. Oh, and I can make a lot of money. It's just weird. And you're selling somebody on the product at hand, right? In real estate, the ideology behind buying and selling homes or commercial or multifamily, blanket statement all you want, the concept of it is sold. People understand there's value behind it. It's sold. So if it's not the what, then it's the who they're going to work with. And people have to trust that you're professional, that you're proficient, and that you're honest enough to advise them appropriately based off of their certain circumstances. And that if you don't have the answer, you're going to be resourceful because you care. You're going to be resourceful enough to find that answer. And I think that's where we've really hit that power band, and that execution is my sphere. The people that know me, if you look back at it, from law enforcement to, running a fitness company, being number 2 in that fitness company, I'm sure people can imagine the type of people that I've come into contact with in my sphere, my just my surroundings, right? Because we don't buy leads. Everything we do is sphere of influence with where we hit our numbers. But understand that in my world, I was actually a turnoff putting on a suit, because I knew these guys from fitness, or I knew them from being, guys with law enforcement, and just, hey, we're good. And then, some industries that maybe, or just people that shy away from sales in general. So when I was their boy and they trusted me, we're having conversations, and I show up at their house with a suit, they're kind of like, hey,
Who you trying to be?
Yeah, man. What are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
hey, we're boys right now. And I literally, Gene, I had a guy tell me that. I was going out with a buddy of mine, and we were looking at some homes. I was out with the family on a Saturday, found a couple, last minute. I was like, cool, man. Hey, I'll be there. And I show up, and he's like, oh, finally. And I was like, what, dude? I'm on time. What are you talking about? But I was in a jean and like a nice jeans and a nice flannel. And he goes, no, dude, you took that suit off. And I was like, nah, man, it looks nice. He goes, yeah, but dude, I'm your guy. It's too much, man. Like, and I kind of look, just with my background and my command presence, I kind of look a certain way in a black suit. I kind of look CIA or just something weird. It's just weird. And it just was creating this energy of my friends thinking that I was like trying to put an impression on or fitness industry. And they're like, dude, we're good with you. We like you. But, and I started realizing, let me just neutralize some of my attire and then see what the reaction is. And believe it or not, man, it worked. And now I have people who don't know me. They get referred to me, but I still get a more comfortable response from them when I'm in casual clothes. And I think, you have to pay attention to that, whether it's my friends or people that don't know me that get introduced to me. I might just be such a bigger guy or such an amount of command presence that if I put that suit on, I'm too loud. Yeah. And there's just too much going on and they can't hear what I have to say. But I'm able to be a little bit more neutral now. And if what you have to say brings value and they believe in your process, you're going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. So can I break that down real quick?
Yeah, 100%. That's why we got
because I love what you said. So if you're looking at me, if you're watching the Facebook Live, I'm in a black V-neck t-shirt. This is what I wear to weddings. This is what I wear to funerals. Shit. When I speak on stage, no matter where I'm at, this is what I rock. And there's a couple reasons. Number one is it's easy, right? One of the things I don't have to do in the morning is match anything up. I know exactly it's going to be jeans, my sneakers, this black shirt. If you're making your judgments off my marketing skills based on my shirt, I'm okay with that. And you and I are probably not going to work together, right? And I'm fine with that. I have no problem with that. That's not me. That's not how I roll. When I'm in a suit, I'm extremely uncomfortable. I'm not myself. But what you just told me about what you're doing, Will, is the perfect marketing thing. In your world, you were infusing a pattern interrupt. And that was you dressing a certain way that didn't fit your mode or your MO. And people that know you realize that and went, stop everything. This makes me uncomfortable. I don't know what's happening here. And now my emotions are different. Mm-hmm. Correct. That's a great marketing tactic. When on the other side of that, you have the ability to convert them because you go, this is why I'm in the suit. I actually was just killing 3 people on the side, but I'm not here for that with you. And they go, oh, that makes sense. Okay. Now the pattern interrupt makes sense. Right. We're on to the next thing. You were getting dressed. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I got to get out of that suit anyway. If I was slaying bodies, bro, I need to I can't match any descriptions. I got to be out. But you're right. And I think this, and I'm sure you can hit on this as well, man, when you talk about marketing, because it's really hard online to give people a feel, right? That's why video is so important because, and I know we're going to hit on this today. I'm kind of giving it a segue, but you're trying to create a feel, a certain just atmospherics about your marketing or who you are in person. Please understand, you have to pay attention to your clientele. You have to pay attention to what you project. And it's not about right or wrong. It's just about listening to it. And Eli will tell you, dude, I look great in a suit. The knots I can tie, dude, that's Marine Corps in me. If you're going to put on, your service uniform and the way you have to present it and your tie being tied, you got to be crisp. You got to be prepared. So I do like some aspects of it, but it's not about whether I like it or not. It's about what's mainly me and how people can hear me best. Because that's the biggest thing is I want you to get to know me. I want you to trust in the process and the game plan I'm going to present to you when it comes to your projects with real estate. So how can I best be utilized? And it was having to listen. And I was kind of feeling it anyway, but I thought it was just because I was new in an industry. But then once a buddy said it, I go, ooh, there's something there. And it was literally one comment of him just busting my balls as we were going to look at some houses that I just sat on for a couple of days and just reflected on some other patterns of where that might have been. And then I changed it up, and I started to get more of a positive reinforcement. And I think, Gene, you can speak to this too with digital or with in person, but you've got to pay attention to these little signals as far as the totality of your package and what you present. But the biggest thing is that you got to be yourself, right?
This day, transparency is number one, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And let me say this. Up until about 3 weeks ago, transparency is number one. I think compassion is really big right now, which we can get into. But yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. I mean, you got to be, listen, we were talking about this before, unfettered access into your life. People are doing Facebook Lives. You know what my wife looks like. You know that 2 nights ago I was drinking X, Y, and Z wine. I like this kind of beer. I mean, you look at the picture of me on here. Obviously, I smoke cigars. Like, you can discern so much about me just by watching what. And by the way, I'm telling you because I'm the one posting it. Yep. So when I post all this stuff out, you're going to realize what it is that. Oh, he celebrates Easter. He's Catholic. Okay, he's from Philly. Oh, he's an Eagles fan. Like, in 4 minutes, you can figure out my whole life story for the most part because I'm giving you that information. So if I was constantly giving you information that was false or trying to make myself look way better than I am, the people that are in your life are going to call you out and they're going to know that. And that works the opposite way because now you're a fraud. It's not just that you might not be that guy, but you're actually actively lying to me online. It's weird. Mm-hmm. So social media has changed the whole game.
I think it's important too, and Eli, he hits a lot on this, and we've had several clients make some fun remarks, even referrals, man. Like we'll take a client on and we'll make a phone call to just introduce ourselves, or like if Eli has a client, but obviously we do everything together, so I've never met him, but someone knows it's Eli. Several times I've heard on the phone when I'm getting introduced on speakerphone, they're like, "Will, what's up, man? Like, I love the videos. I feel like I already know you." Mm-hmm. Yep. Twofold with this. One, just being yourself, being transparent, and being consistent with some type of value through social media. It does give people some insight on who you are. The other benefit to that is you're going to want to work with people who feel like they already get you or understand you or enjoy you, because they're going to be more apt to listen to you in your process and be more apt to allow you to advise and take them through this experience versus challenging everything that you do. You don't want to force a sale. Understand, it's not houses that you're selling. That concept is already sold. So in our world, you're the product. And I don't want to convince somebody to work with me if there's a personality conflict. And any little thing that goes wrong, they just can't, they can't wait. Even if they don't say anything, they're looking to blame you. Everyone's walking on eggshells. You're going to second guess what you're doing. You're going to overanalyze how they're thinking, if they're not thinking, if they are thinking. Just not a good vibe. Mm-hmm. So the other reason why being yourself and being transparent there and then being consistent with exposing it is the type of energy and the type of people you attract should be a great experience. And then when they refer you, they're probably going to be referring you to other people that might enjoy who you are. And by the way, I do not mean guys who love working out who wear military jackets. No, we've had super old folks work with us who think we're just a real hoot, Gene. So it's not, just a meathead from the military. No, it's all walks of life, but that just feel they enjoy whatever you're putting out. But that's huge in sales.
It is. And what you said earlier, Gene, about how you like to have fun, right? You like to have fun in what you're doing. For me, man, that's a non-negotiable. And whatever my line of work is, I have to be having fun. Because if I'm not, I'm going to do a bad job. And I'm way too ADD. And, I like having fun too much to do something that I don't enjoy, right? So the type of people that you're going to work with because they know who you are and they're just attracted to you, man, it's rare that him and I get a real estate client that we don't have a phenomenal relationship with. Yeah. Like I can think of maybe one or two, and it wasn't even a bad one. It just different personality type. But our clients are fun. We have a blast on showings. Our negotiations are easier because we just communicate well with that client because they know who they're getting. We overcome
challenges more. They have faith in us. And Gene, the follow-up is that much more natural. If we actually enjoy each other, I don't have to pretend to call you amazing in my closing photo. And I'm so fortunate to work with these amazing assholes, right? Like, no, that's not true. And I don't want to say at the same time, that first experience, if you haven't known them, or maybe you have known them from high school, from wherever, but they're now your client. Closing on a home is a great start to a relationship. And if we already enjoy each other, and if what we thought about one another just gets enhanced through that process, now when I reach out and I'm checking on your family, or we're talking about maybe getting together and doing a barbecue, or if your kid's got a birthday and I stop by and give them a squirt gun, it doesn't look like it's forced. And I feel like in real estate, when people are doing follow-up with prior clients, I feel like there's just a lot of people that don't care for that person. And every time you're reaching out, or your obligatory pop-by gift, or your obligatory phone call once a month to make sure they're not dead, I don't know if there's that much value, because the person on the other side of that doesn't care for you, and it's just awkward to say that they don't. And then they kind of feel guilty to use you, but they don't use you anyway. And do you know how I know this, Gene? Because we end up being the new realtors, and we've heard, and I'm sure we're not the only ones, but we hear people speak like this about a prior realtor. And I feel like, man, I just wish those other realtors would just realize that and just move in a direction that's just better for them. And full disclosure, Eli and I, we've had a couple interesting, out of the last couple hundred deals our team has done, we've had a couple clients that were very interesting, we will call it. Not bad people at all, but definitely they're not super stoked if they get my call, because there's just not a vibe. It's kind of like dating. It just, someone's really nice, or you get introduced to someone and, hey, they were a super nice person, but there's like no click, there's no spark.
Yeah.
And look, I still send them some stuff. I still reach out every once in a while or send them some market updates of value. But I'm not putting a ton of energy in there because I don't want it to feel like they feel like I'm doing it because it's guilty because there was no spark, but now I'm forcing this follow-up and relationship. When in reality, you just got to realize, like, hey, if there's no connection there, this is going to look forced and it's not doing you any good, right? Like, it's just not. And you don't want to be sitting there panhandling on their porch. Like, if they got a friend one day that chooses to buy or sell that you're there. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
No, I agree 100%. I think, and the one thing that I think I would just say at the end of that is this. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to be everybody's friend.
Yep.
And what I mean by that is not you don't have to be everybody's friend to do business with them, because I'm along the same lines as you, is that I've started a couple companies in my time. And I learned over time that first of all, when your company's making money, you're best friends, right? It always works that way. And I remember an old cat told me that. He's like, how's your relationship with your partner? And I go, amazing. We're best friends. How's your money? Awesome. Revenue's cranking. Okay, let's see how it is on the downturn, because there always is one, right?
Yep.
You're gonna have a tough month. Somebody's gonna think somebody's not pulling their weight. Like that stuff happens. And I don't even know where the hell I was going with that, but I think that it's important. I know where I was going. It's important that you want to be on a yacht with their kids. Here's what I mean by that. When you get to a point where you're successful enough where you can actually turn, let me caveat that, where you can actually turn away business because you don't jive with that person. I mean, there is an element when you first start a new business and a new career, whatever it is, that you need the income, right? So there's certain times where you go, I wouldn't hang out with this dude, but I sort of need him right now. And so I'm going to do the best I can for them, even though we don't click and we're not going to have drinks, right? Like there's going to be that. But when you get to a point where you're doing 100 transactions and you go, this one doesn't feel right, let's do 99 this year instead of 100. Nobody's heard over it. You know, that's fine. I just think that it becomes this for me. All right, if I'm going to get into a long-term relationship and business with you, do I see myself on a boat somewhere with you, with my kids and your kids and the wives? And it sounds goofy, but the equation is, can we have dinner together, or are you going to annoy the shit out of me, or vice versa? And if that's the case, I'm probably not going to get on the LLC docs with you.
Yeah. Well, right? it's like getting married, man. Like when you describe it that way, it's like, hey, am I just trying to date this person, or is this someone I could wife up?
And obviously that's a scale, right? Because the reality is, no, we're not going to see our clients every single day. We're not having dinner with them every single day. But it's more about just the ideology behind, you know, how we value one another and how well we get along. Because we do have to have some trust. We do have to be able to listen to one another and just jive. And that way everybody's executing the best they can. And like Eli said, you want it to be fun to an extent. And you're right. There are some transactions, Gene, early on where you need the money. And I think I'm okay to work with folks that, you know, maybe don't want to go have a beer with me, but they're respectable and they're listening to me. I think it's just down to the individual to gauge that, because we've also had clients that, yeah, we're not going to have beer with, but they were still a great experience. Right. But I think at some point you've got like those fun, you know, clients that are just fun and it's a great experience and it's a couple challenges, but you get over it and you're proactive about maybe seeing them in the future and they're just great people. And you've got the folks that are still great people and they listen to you, but they're definitely not going to a baseball game with you. But it's okay that they're not, but there's still that good vibe and communication and everybody knows their role during this time and it still goes well. But further past that, this is where you've got to be really good with some self-awareness and with some emotional intelligence to just feel like if something's being productive or not.
Yeah, and you know, you guys have had that client. Like, I have a client in New York City that I absolutely adore. I just love having our Zoom meetings. You know that guy? Yep. And then towards the end of the call, we'll talk about marketing strategy. Like, we're always about how's your life, how the kids, right? There's always that. I just enjoy it. It's not a task. It's, I have this 3:30 with Will today. Yep. Like it's, you know, but you also have been on the flip side of that where your phone rings and you're like, oh shit.
Man. Yeah.
I feel like I've been that call for someone. I feel like I've been calling someone like Eli. And they've been like,
I think we all have though.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. Yeah, for me it's any time that I call Will, because anytime I'm the one reaching out to him, he's like, there's a problem. Eli wouldn't call me if there wasn't a problem.
Eli doesn't. He's this introvert dude. He likes to hog all the love, man. I make him feel a certain way, and he just selfishly keeps it for himself.
Right, that's it.
And when he calls me, it's because something's going wrong. And the other day we were just talking about the deal, and he calls me. It's 8:30 at night, and he's calling me, and I'm like, oh fuck.
Like what's wrong?
So I before I go to bed.
I pick up the phone and I don't say anything, and then he goes hello, and I go, what is it? I go completely different. So
here's what you got to do, Eli. You got to throw in a pattern interrupt. Call him tomorrow and just be like, what's up, dude?
See,
What's wrong?
That's
No,
a
just
trap.
checking in, baby.
That's a fucking trap, Gene. I'm a smart guy. I know I don't know all your IT stuff. I'm a super smart emotional dude.
So, Gene, before we go much further, man, let's dive into this day one $0, man, and then I want to find out a little more about what you're doing for agents specifically.
Okay, talk to me. What do you want to pull out of me?
So you were an expert. You were building the company, and maybe start from when you shut the door and you're like, oh, I don't have to go anywhere.
Well, I want to go before that. Can we go before that?
Well, go before it and hit on that, because I think the biggest piece that sometimes people miss when they want to dabble into an industry, or like, I've got a buddy, he was thinking about doing real estate, and he mentioned on the side, and I was trying to be fair to him and just not say that he can't do real estate. He's a cool guy, man. He's a great guy, but there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot more than people realize, and there's a stigma behind real estate that people think that you can just do it part-time and do a couple deals. And here's my thing to that. You might be able to do a couple deals part-time. However, whether you're doing 3 or 100 a year, that is the most important deal to that client. So my problem is, if you're doing your job every 4 months, how prepared are you? There's contracts involved. There's legality involved. There's a ton of stuff, and people are using $500,000 or up on this. This is the most important thing that they're probably doing at the moment, minus their children, if they have any, or their marriage. But because you do it 3 times a year, like, hey, and it's a side gig, you're going to make some cash. I get, I have to try to understand other people's perspectives. But for me, with the Marine Corps, with police officer work and the duty to serve, there is an honor and a pride and integrity and a lot that goes behind people trusting you. And this is where I try to articulate that, hey, I don't care if you do 4 deals a year and, hey, it's some side money. You're thinking about it for yourself. And anytime you're in sales, this is an environment of service and relationships, not to pitch something. And if you're going to go at this, 3 times a year, I don't know if you are proficient, and if you don't have any resources to get you some help, I just don't know how well you're going to execute it. And are you doing a disservice to someone to make a buck? That's where I feel with it. So when you're talking right now about diving in and I don't have to do anything, man, this is like the feel of that. I also feel like people are doing a disservice to themselves if they don't feel that process.
Well, you're talking about the difference between a job and a hobby. I wouldn't take my car to be worked on by some dude down the street that's like, yeah, I got some tools in my garage. It's a hobby.
Nope.
Right? Yeah. I need you to fix this. No. And I might do that if the end result for me needs that I can't pay for something, right? But if I need to pay to have something fixed, I want to take it to a pro, somebody who does it inside and out.
Especially if that car was worth $500,000 and you were trying to put your kids inside of it for the next 5, 10, 15 years because it was your forever car.
Yeah.
Right. 100%. No, and here's the other thing too, that I think it doesn't get talked about as much as I would talk about it if I was a real estate agent, is that 99 out of 100 times, 95 out of 100 times, the person selling that house, it's probably the most expensive, high net worth, scary thing that they'll do in their lifetime. Maybe the second time, maybe the first time, maybe the 5th time. We're not talking about an investor or somebody who's worth billions of dollars. For the average home seller or home buyer, they're nervous about every single thing. So if it's your hobby, that becomes less attractive for me on the side of being nervous. Like, okay, you guys do this for shits and giggles. Yeah, I got to find the next one because this isn't shits and giggles for me.
And we've seen people like that. And I'm going to say this, I'll let you comment, and we're going to let you go into your day with $0 again. But we've seen agents before get, not be professional, or they're super brand new and they've done 1 deal, or, they're part-time, quote unquote, and done a couple deals, but then they're upset when their friends or family don't use them. And I'm like, hey, who are you? You don't think everyone else, you don't think all of us had someone not use us before? Should they? Are you the best that there is? Are you worth the money, even at a discounted rate beyond the money? Like, are you going to execute this process appropriately, or do you need more time? But this is where I kind of go internal a bit. And I wish people put more weight behind the responsibility to what they were asking these people to do when they were using them.
You need to press your association of realtors. If I was on one of those boards, I would make it much more difficult to become a real estate agent, or much more expensive.
I've been saying that for years, man.
Yeah, or maybe
10 grand.
And the tests are pretty good, Gene. Like the statewide, the national, to be a full broker, they're pretty solid. It's to maintain, it's the CRE credits and things like that. I just wish there might be some financial in there, or just something like that maybe you had to pay in more just to keep
whatever
it
they got to do, just some sort of barrier of entry, man. Because the fact that you can, work legal documents that are like binding in court, like these are legal documents. I mean, out where you guys are at East Coast, man, they have attorneys draft those up. And the fact that, like, I got licensed in like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and I was like, ugh. Like, cool for me, but yikes. Like, that's scary, man.
Yeah.
Yep. And also think about the flip side is how many people, like I know nurses that will say to me, I failed the board 4 times. Mm-hmm. Like, okay. And I go, okay, good. The barrier of not good that you failed, but I'm glad that it's hard enough where they're just not letting you slide in there into the emergency room. Right.
Good point.
Whereas
like, it could be harder. Yeah. Good point.
How many times have you heard somebody fail the real estate exam twice?
So, I mean,
it happens.
It's not an easy test.
Mm-hmm.
It does happen
because it's a full broker's license. Because this is not an attorney state, so you're required to be a full broker out here. So they are a little bit more difficult. However, it could be more, or could it just be more time? And I'm sure there's an onion to peel on that. But I think we're all kind of saying the same thing. But getting back to your day $1 before feeling that pressure, what did that look like?
It's funny you asked that question that way, because I can still to this day completely visualize what it looked like.
Wow.
And I was 13 years old. So 14, maybe 14. And we were sitting on my floor. Mm-hmm. So let me throw some context at you. I'm the oldest of 6.
Okay.
And I want to say at the time this was going on, my mother was pregnant with my youngest brother. So yeah, she was probably pregnant or didn't know yet, because I was about 14 years old. I was getting ready to go into high school. And basically what happened was, my dates are probably all off. I'm staring out into the mist because I'm thinking about my sisters would probably be yelling at me. I do a good job suppressing some of the bad stuff, right? So I'm sure my sisters would be on here saying, it wasn't that, it was this date, but this is how I remember it, so screw it. It was my mom and dad sitting on the couch letting us know that he was sick. And I was sitting in the middle. One of my sisters was sitting on the couch with them. And I watched my mom try to explain to me at 13 or 14 and all my younger brothers and sisters that they were testing my dad for HIV and that they were testing my dad for cancer and they were testing my dad for, God name it, right? Now, as a 14-year-old getting ready to go into high school, all I heard was, we're testing your father for AIDS.
Right.
And at that time, we're talking 92, I graduated, 80, 89, I want to say, 1989.
Big deal.
Give or take.
Yeah, huge.
Big deal, right? Big deal. And super, super like, here's what it would have been. Did you hear Volpe's dad's gay?
Yep.
And again, nothing wrong with it. It's just that was, as a high schooler, that's what went through my primitive mind.
Right.
How am I going to do? I'm going to high school. How am I supposed to deal? That's all I heard. I want to say, how do I say this? Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on which way we take the story, it ended up being leukemia.
Wow.
So he was diagnosed with leukemia. And I just think there's certain images, sort of like the one we just went through, where I talked about closing the door on my first day of leaving, right? There's just things that are burned into your psyche. And that was one of those that forever. And one of the things I actually remember was my father was a Philly firefighter, tough, brawny. Dude, I mean, you guys know this. As a cop, you guys are running towards what other people are running away from. There's a special kind of crazy in that, right? And I always admired that about him. And I always felt or hoped that I got some of my work ethic from him. I mean, he would come, I can still, 100 years later, still smell that smell of when we knew he had a fire when he would come in the door. Yeah. When they were fighting a fire, there's just, and we talk about it all the time. My brothers and sisters like, I miss that smell. At the time, it was like, Dad, you stink. It smells like soot and, burnt flesh. But he was on the cover of one of our local newspapers for saving a baby's life, 2 years old, CPR, like all that stuff. But that image is always ingrained in what I do. And again, so these are all pretty good segues, right? So one of the things we talked about earlier was my delusional optimism. Part of my delusional optimism comes from that conversation on the couch. And here's what I mean by that. Everything that happens to me could always be worse. No matter what. It just doesn't matter, because somebody out there is today, okay, oh, you got a sword. Like we were talking about this the other day. If you look close enough, I had a sty over the last week. I've never had one in my life. I don't know if it's coronavirus or not, whatever. Like that's what people, I get messages from people and I'm like, okay, I mean, I feel good. So no fevers.
You need to clean your makeup brushes, bro.
What's that?
You need to clean your makeup brushes.
Well, this is true.
Yeah.
Well, I do so many shows. I think that in so many of these videos, I got to look nice, right?
There you go.
But I could sit around and go like, that hurts. My eye's leaking.
Right.
But there's somebody out there that's dealing with a family member. Like I'm always looking at it from the underside of, it could be way worse. Stop being a little bitch and just handle your business.
Yep,
like, don't, you know what I mean? And I think that has shaped the way that I deal with everything. And so just to kind of go back, when I turned 40, there's two big milestones in my life recently. When I turned 40, people would say to me, how does it feel? And first of all, I'm in way better shape now. This is going to come as a surprise to you guys. I'm in way better shape now than I was when I was 24 years old.
You look 60. So if people were like surprised that you're 40, like, dude, that's awesome.
I'm 88. So I think that was a compliment.
Dude, and I'll be honest, that I'm lying. I'm just jealous of that badass beard.
Dude,
because I'm trying and can't grow it, so I'm just jealous, bro. I'm just jealous.
Took a long
That's
time,
how it is.
And I got the widow's whiskers or whatever they call it. Like they're starting to get gray on me, right?
Looks good, man.
And people are like, diet. I'm like, I'm not trying to diet. I can care less. I need one more routine.
No, then it's that awkward, like too dark black, and you're like, that guy dyeing his fucking beard. Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
I'm this guy. The girls are like, Dad, can we paint your nails? I'm like, yeah. Sure.
Don't be dyeing my beard. You can paint my toenails.
Yeah, right. I can put shoes on at least for that. So to kind of go back, when I turned 40. People were like, how's it feel to be 40? And I'm like, you know what? It feels amazing. And they're like, why? And I said, because I feel good. Everything's great. But in my subconscious, my father was diagnosed with leukemia at 39. I just wanted to get out of 39 like it was my job. Yeah. Like I just wanted to jump over that hurdle. And I just turned 45 a little less than a month ago. And people went, how's it feel? And I went, fantastic. But in my subconscious mind, my father was dead at 44. I wanted to get out of 44. Man. So, you know what I mean? So, and to kind of end that story, I would imagine somewhere you were going to ask how that worked out. Yeah. He went back in and out, remission, boom, 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 they moved. Talk about crazy. When I was about 18 or 19, my mom and dad moved from our house in West Philly to right outside the hospital in South Carolina for almost a full year to get him this experimental treatment while me and my 5 brothers and sisters stayed at home and went to school. Think about that. So, and luckily my family is friggin' amazing. So there might've been 2 nights in those 9 months that there wasn't an adult with us, but it was an aunt, an uncle, a cousin, an older cousin, grandmother, grandfather, whoever. They were always there to just keep an eye on us think about that. 6 kids in an 1,100 square foot house for 9 months while their parents were fighting cancer in South Carolina. It's a little wild.
During a really, like hard time as a kid, man, like you're going through high school, you're doing all sorts of just, things that involve your parents, man. It's nice to have your parents around for those things.
And listen, going back to that again, going to my whole thing of it could always be worse.
Yeah.
I was 19 years old, bro. Like people are always like, how does that make you feel? I'm like, I was 19 when my father died. I have some great memories. I got to see baseball games with him. Like I wish he saw his grandkids. Don't get me wrong, but my brother was 4 when he died. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like that could have been my brother, my second brother, Paul. The day when this was all playing out, my mom called me. I was the oldest, and she would say we would drive down there on weekends, 12-hour rides down to South Carolina. And she said to me, "Listen to me, it's going downhill quick, and I need you to send everybody down." And I said, "Okay, what's going to happen? Uncle Tom's going to come, all this stuff." So I said, "Okay, well, we'll be down there. We'll get down there Saturday morning." She said, "No, not you." And I said, "Okay, why?" And she said, "Paul graduates 8th grade on Monday. I want you to stay with him, hit the graduation, drive down Monday night." 6:00 Monday night, 2 hours before my brother was to graduate, my father died. Oh, wow. So when I look at that stuff, do I go like this? Poor me. Everybody feel bad for Gene. No, because you know why? Because I have those positive things to look back on. A lot of people in my family that are close to me don't have as much of that as I do. It could have always been worse. Could have been better? Absolutely. Could it have been 1,000 times worse? Absolutely. And you know what? I'm grateful for that.
I mean, and this is where like I'm believe it or not, don't get crazy, Gene. I'm on your side. Because we're being a little lighthearted, which is good because I know these are hard conversations, but I'm having a hard time finding the piece where we're calling it delusional. I'm having a hard time. Some people call religion delusional or God delusional, or some people think, I don't know, man. it just doesn't sound delusional to me. And I'm very big on like protecting my words or my thought process. And for me, like perspective is huge, and the depth of perspective that people have, right? Like, I don't know, man. Like, I just don't think the way that listen, don't tell your wife that I'm siding with you. Don't throw my name out during one of you guys' fights because she'll kill me. But yeah, I just don't see any delusion to this, man. I think just having some perspective, I think not only is perspective great and can be passed on to others, absolutely, but you're the one that's got those feelings. So your own perspective of how you gauge things, if it helps you move forward, I think it's a benefit, man.
I like the way you said that. And let's listen. I'm going to be honest with my wife. I think my wife likes to call me delusional because she just likes to pull my strings.
And it's fun. But we were talking about delusion in business and just other stuff as well. I was being lighthearted about the wife. I'm sure she loves you.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like
I'm not, so we'll see.
Right. But yeah, I just don't see any delusion in it. I think that we tend to resonate with what we have, and if what we have tears us down and takes us down a bad path, I think we have to analyze that. But if what we have, we're able to be fueled by it and push forward, and there's some literal sense to it could have been worse. What else are you going to do with that energy? You can't change the hardship, because let's be honest, there's hardship there. So we can't. I think delusional would be just completely ignoring the fact of what happened, right? But owning it and just, hey, things are what they are, but it could have literally been worse. But but just capitalizing on what it was, but just being real with those moments and being able to be better for them. You're a better father. You're better in business. You're more patient for clients. There's just a lot of great perspective that comes from that I think I don't wish any ill will on anyone, but I think inside of me, I wish people had more of that to speak to, because I think it would open their eyes.
Well, here's the other thing too. I mean, I feel like it's such an easy choice, and I'm confused a lot when this is going to sound awful because it's not self-serving, but
you're on my podcast, Gene. I've been real awful on here, so don't be bashful.
I know, but I don't want this. I don't want this to reflect badly on me because it feels like I'm saying, like, in other words, if you're in the same position, if you have the same exact story as I do, and you didn't handle it the way that I did, I don't want you to think that I'm not appreciative and supportive of that. However you handle it is fine with me, because it's yours. But what I find the problem with is, if you were in the same situation as me, you have two options. You can get back up to the plate and keep swinging, or you can go into the corner and suck your thumb. And what fun is that? So I could sit here. I think about my dad all the time. I think about my mom all the time. I think about my father-in-law was just tuned into this podcast. He actually is here right now. What's up, Dad? So he's checking this out. But here's one of the things I often wonder. My father was a very outgoing, wild dude. He would wear hula skirts and jump fences and just mess with people. Like, he was just nuts. And I carry a lot of that. I told you the Gumby story a couple minutes ago, but I carry a lot of that. My father-in-law, not as much anymore with grandkids, but he was always a very straight-laced, serious guy. And I think my dad would have drove him out of his mind crazy. But I often wonder, let's pretend, outside of, number one, I wish he was here to really know my wife. Number two, obviously, I wish he was here. He would be the best grandfather, one of the two best grandfathers in the world. See what I did there? But number three, I would love to see the relationship between my father-in-law and my father. I think it would have provided so much entertainment for us that I think it would have been just fun. Like, I really do.
Yeah.
Hey, what was that movie with Ben Stiller with like the crazy dad, the hippie dad?
Yeah,
and
meet the Fockers.
Meet the Fockers.
Yeah, meet the parents, meet the Fockers.
Hell yeah.
I think a dumbed down version of that a little bit. It wasn't to that extreme, but yes.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Man, now how did
So you're going to push forward. I'm going to cut you off. Sorry, Les.
Yes.
So when you were talking about like your literal day $1 started prior to that, and then you're there and you're the oldest. So, and I might be speaking for you, so clear me here a bit. But so when this happens, and your father passes away, and you were there for one of your brothers for 8th grade graduation, but then I'm guessing that moment made it real. Is that what you mean by about a day $1? Like, now you feel like you've taken on a role to support or provide or just be there for these other youngsters?
No. I think that I would, if I said yes to that, I would be giving myself absolutely way too much credit. So I think when I look at it from that way, day $1 was, for me, this is how if I could go back and tell my 12-year-old self what's going to happen, this event is going to have a lot to do with the way that you shape your decisions and your reactions to things that happen to you.
So it's more about that experience helps you approach every day like it's day $1 kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yes, and if it's a Tuesday and that makes me a better brother, I'm okay with that. If it's a Wednesday and I happen to be a better father because of that, because I'm able to stop and think like, how could this be different based off your experiences, then I'm okay with that. So I'm always gets back in the back of my head for my subconscious to keep me rolling down the right path of optimism, I guess is the way I want to put it.
Right. Well, I like what you said there, man, when you said, when you called it a decision, because not to oversimplify emotion or situations that happen to us or anything like that, but really when you boil everything down to whatever happens to you, you literally do. You have two choices, man, on just how you're going to react and how you're going to handle things. And even if it's, not ideal and they're terrible things that happen, you can make it a positive reaction or a negative reaction, man. And the way I look at it, I relate a lot of things out of my control to traffic. And I've never understood people with road rage where they're sitting in traffic. And I'm not talking about when someone, is purposely fucking with you or cutting you off, riding your ass. I just mean the people that are flipping out in traffic because there's traffic and they're honking at everyone and they think for some reason everyone is out to get them. I'm like, first of all, you do realize that you have zero control over this, right? You're going to be late. You just accept the fact that you're going to be late. Turn on the fucking comedy channel on Pandora, man, and just enjoy the extra time in traffic. Make some calls, right? Just take advantage of this extra time you have. But it's like, those are the two choices that you have, man. And not to, downplay anyone's emotions or anything more that they make of it. And if you choose to do something not super productive with it, fine. But it's that easy, right?
I think so. It's not
maybe
always,
not easy, not easy. Simple. Easy is a bad word. Simple.
For sure. Simple. Right. And I think it's funny you bring up the road rage thing. I always giggle with road rage because I'd be willing to bet everybody that's angry in traffic, it's the result of a stupid decision you made a couple hours earlier. And
to not be on time.
That,
yeah.
Right. You were on FaceTime too long, or you were searching your old girlfriends on Facebook for 7 minutes longer. You should have got your hair cut earlier. Right. I just always think that's funny. And I say that because I know that's me a lot of times. I giggle at myself and I'm like, you're going to be late again. You dope. Why is that? Because you decided to shave today, not last night. And you started later than you should have. Right.
So, and just losing your father too, right? Like I'm guessing like, he's not there to coddle you or make everything okay. And I think there's some perspective there so let's use a metaphor here because I'm not accusing every mom of doing this, but let's use a metaphor like a mom is like life. And if a kid sits there and does nothing, just sits there and pouts and cries, and then mom gives you what you want. Eventually you get what you want. That is not how life works. So if your decision is to not take action and just make the best of everything that you can and create, your own opportunities and choose to move forward after trials and tribulations, if you just decide to sit there and pout, life is not going to come give you a cupcake. It just too much going. Life doesn't give a fuck about you or anyone else. Like, but what it does respond to is you helping yourself, you taking initiative and putting energy into positivity and taking advantage of that and just creating opportunity for yourself. It will not do anything. It's stagnant. If you're stagnant, energy in life is stagnant. What I also want to make people realize as well is whichever decision that you decide to make, please understand that can be so draining or so uplifting to others. But we're all energy, right? So whatever you're putting out, there's going to be a compound effect to it. But if you're stagnant and other people are encouraging that or feeling bad for you, and they tend to just soil in the same thing, you're not going to get anywhere with that. Like, you've really got to, it's not that, and I've said it before in my own stories, Gene, fuck, when am I going to catch a break? You're not going to catch a break. There is no break, but there's work, and you can put work in, and you can start creating the right type of energy that you want to live by and that you want to pass on to others, and you'd be surprised where that goes and where it takes yourself and where it takes others. But I just, just be careful how you choose to go about things. And Gene, I'm sure you can speak to this too, man. I've had my own hard times. Just because you're choosing positivity, just because you're choosing to move forward and just take action and just be that, doesn't mean you got to be okay all the time. It's not. They're not all pretty wins. Like, I'm sure you can relate. Like the Baltimore Ravens, man. Some of their wins are ugly, but they got it. They got it done, right? And just a lot of stuff with Ray Lewis back then, and just the grit and tearing your damn bicep off, and quarterbacks throwing and it's just ugly football. They could have won a lot more graciously. They didn't, but they got it done and they won football games. And I think sometimes people have this picture in their mind that if I'm going to choose positivity or choose to push forward, that it's fake or it's a facade. Or no, It's just a decision that you're trying to work toward, right? And not everything is perfect, but you don't always have to be okay. It's not that you can't cry. It's not that you can't be mad. It's not that some days can't be harder than others. It's that when you're going through that, you're still choosing the latter, and you're choosing to work through it, and you're choosing to put people around you that help uplift and help you work through it. But please don't think that you always have to have this smile on your face, or that everything always has to be easy, or you're pretending it's easy, because that is not what taking this other road is meant to be.
I was so glad you said it. I mean, I was thinking the same thing. There was a come off as like, I'm this, some kind of goofy guru positivity animal. And I've cried myself to sleep. I mean, there's been days where I just wanted to be alone and be selfish, and I have kids and a wife. There's times I've argued with my wife because I'm an asshole, and I've said things, and I've made people angry. I mean, I don't want this to come off like I'm saying to you, look at my social feed. All I am is compassionate and high energy. No, that's who I am as a guy.
Yep.
But I'm with you, man. Trust me, I am so imperfect. And if you want me to bring my wife in for this one, I can. I am so imperfect. It's scary. But here's what I can tell you. I'm trying like hell every day, man. I really am.
Something that resonates with me that it's actually a tattoo my cousin has. My cousin's a firefighter as well. Was in law enforcement for a while, and I chat with him, here and there when I come off of deployments. And he had a tattoo, and I asked him what it said, and it said, "Life is a beautiful struggle." And it just resonated with me because it's beautiful, man. Like there's so many things to be, thankful for, and how euphoric it can be and grateful you can be in certain moments, but it's a struggle, man. Like there's just constantly things that you're going to kind of go through, but those times also give you perspective on how to push forward. They strengthen you. But I think those are the reasons why you're able to appreciate some of the beautiful side to it in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, they say there's a reason why there's hate, right? So you understand what love is.
100%.
Both sides of every coin, right? Something tastes great. I hate mustard. I know that. I know that balance.
I mean, these stories are fun. And Gene, we're learning. We haven't heard these stories until now, and I so appreciate you sharing them because, everything that you're talking about and us having a little bit of history with you, with how eager you are to help people and be okay to do things and put your time and energy into folks without any expectation of anything else. You see very clearly where it comes from.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, how are we looking on time? We're okay with time?
You're making it hard for me to make fun of. I haven't even, you know what I mean? Like, I can't even bust your balls anymore, Gene. You totally flipped it on me. No, we're good. Day $1.0 as far as like your approach moving forward. I want to, this is where we kind of want to get creative and talk about a little bit of COVID-19, but not strictly make it COVID-19. Because here's the deal. Everyone is going through something right now in common. So I think it's shedding some light on a lot. But the reality is we never had control of tomorrow. Bottom line, we never did. And believe it or not, there are times where other industries get hit and maybe we don't even see it or feel it, but they're going through something. So I think this sheds light on why you want to understand how to be creative and innovative and how you want to stay ahead of the pack and innovative within your industry. COVID-19 is an opportunity to start looking at that. However, there's been times where the housing market crashed or something else was going through a hard time and other industries were not. So this is not the only time you're going to go through it. And the only time that you go through something, it's not when everybody's going through it collectively. But just speaking to that as far as what you've seen with your clients, not only within real estate, but maybe just digitally overall, what are guys doing to stay on top of things, man?
Oh, my God. This could be a whole nother 2 shows probably. Yeah, I don't even know where to start. I think here's one of the things that I've been preaching over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, probably since this started. There's going to be people that shake out of this COVID-19 on top. And I just said it the other day and there's going to be winners and losers, right? There's just going to be winners and losers. And that's a very vague statement. But what I mean by that is, if again, going back and going into your hole, did this put you into a spot where all you're worried about is politics and being a germaphobe and you're not focusing on anything else you're supposed to be doing? Or are you realizing what it is that's important and you're making those changes based off of this? And you're going to then carry them over to when we're actually allowed to interact with humans again. The people that are going to win in this are the 5 to 10% who aren't backing down, who are doubling down. Mm-hmm. So let's just go into the marketing arena just because of that. There's an opportunity here for you to win, and here's why. First of all, I can tell you, and I'm going to make a number up, and I'm probably way off, and I'm probably way under. But I would be willing to bet that everybody right now, screen time has increased by 40%. Maybe it's 30, maybe it's 90, but their eyeballs are now more focused on Facebook and some of these other spots than they've ever been. And my experience right now is telling me that advertising costs should shoot through the roof, but they're not. So are you doubling down or are you squeezing all of your accounting? So what I mean by that is, are you now, if you're doing $500 a month in advertising, are you doing none because business has stopped? Or are you doing $1,500 because you know that this is going to eventually end, and when it does, you want people lined up at the door? I think, Will, you said something a minute ago. Excuse me. The difference between, people keep saying, like, remember 2008? Because 2008 was an industry or three: banking, housing, right? So the people in restaurants didn't suffer, right? Maybe a little bit. I shouldn't say it. Maybe a little bit, because real estate people got hurt. They pulled back their purse strings a little bit, so there was less eating out, right? So they probably felt a little bit. Never, ever has there ever been something where collectively as a world, everybody is feeling the same pain. We're up to 20 million people or some ridiculous numbers that have put in for unemployment. That number is going to keep going. Are you running scared right now, or are you running like a baller? Because every industry, no, I shouldn't say every. I'm generalizing and I shouldn't. I get it.
That's all right.
Real estate agents, 50% of you are going to be gone when this is done.
Yep.
Again, just a number, arbitrary number. Restaurants, the mom and pops are probably going to be gone after this. Like, things are, the herd is thinning. What side of that herd are you going to be on when this is done? And from the perspective of, I'm going to tie it back, from the perspective of you having more eyeballs and more time with those eyeballs and cutting your marketing, or are you taking the opportunity you have in front of you with those eyeballs and doubling down so that when this ends, you're taking the right steps? I mean, look, I know real estate is quote unquote closed for 2 months, right? Like, I get that. Who the hell is calling me now?
Too popular, bro.
Yeah, somebody's calling me on Facebook. That was wild. I lost my train of thought.
You're on a world-renowned podcast, Gene. I wouldn't be surprised that maybe some people think you're a big deal now on the FaceTime you, dude. I don't know. I mean, there's one food for thought.
Or somebody just got mad at what I said.
Yeah, or that.
Call me to let me know.
But no, we're talking, cutting expenses or doubling down. I mean,
would you agree right now that there are people in this world licking their chops at the opportunities that are going to arise from this?
We're a couple of them right here.
Yeah. Okay. And I also think, because I like where you're going at with your marketing, and I also know that you've probably got some good ideas as far as like, let's say you don't have money. Let's say you're not a realtor. Let's say there's, how to get creative. And I think there are some things, just because exposure is there, what you could be doing to show some care, what you could be doing to build some value, maybe do some things for your community or for your neighbors, I think does go a long way. And I want to highlight that when Eli and I hit, top 1% nationwide as a team, when we hit top 0.5% the next year as a team, we never spent a dime on a lead. So please don't forget the impact that you can have with your community. Don't forget word of mouth, and don't forget actually building some of those real relationships and just being a good person and being a light right now during this time. If that's all you can do, if there's, hey, Gene, I cannot triple down or double down on this thing. Okay, well, here's what you can, and just understand you might have limited results as far as that aspect. That just is what it is. Winners and losers. There's going to be winners in the digital marketing world that have money. There's going to be losers, whatever it may be. But also understand, I think what Gene is getting at is it's about doing all you can. It's not about looking at what you can't do. It's looking at what you can do and where your ability is to get creative and to survive. And yes, being a light and being supportive of your family and shouldering some stuff and helping your community can go a long way. Eli and I are a testament to that. We've never spent a dime on a lead, right? So there are things you can do to create an impact. However,
can we get into that?
Yeah, hell yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
hell yeah.
So I want to tell you a couple things that I've worked for me over the last couple of weeks, and I want to make sure we're real clear. So I'm glad you clarified that. I know resources are limited for a lot of people, and I know people really are struggling to pay the rent. And I'm not saying to you, forego your mortgage payment so you can double down on marketing. Like, I was using marketing as a subset of the examples that we can talk about, right? So I'm glad you said that. So a couple things, and I know I've seen you guys comment or like this, but you have noticed that probably, I think tonight is day 28 of the Challenge to Lead Coronavirus Diaries.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So let me explain to you what that was, and then I want to tell you why I'm saying that's important. So if you're watching it, it's one daily live video on my personal page. It could be your business page. I just opted to do it on my personal page because it has no business ties whatsoever. And I'm basically jumping in for 2 to 6 minutes, and giving a little background about the day. Maybe tonight I'll do it and I'll talk about I was on this podcast. Go back and check it out. Like, it was really cool. We did some great stuff.
Maybe
I will.
Maybe. Oh.
Well, sometimes listen, if I'm drinking good beer, I think the beer that is going to be more important than this podcast.
All right.
No,
Fair enough.
Well, I'm going to be on there commenting how cool you are, just to remind you you're on the podcast today.
That sounds good. I promise you, if you tag me and shout me out, I will make sure that happens.
Deal.
But if you're watching it, you'll realize here's what it is. It's me putting an arm out to say to people, I am actually surprised that, and it sounds awful, but I keep saying it. I'm surprised at the mental anguish that people are going through on this, and I want you to know that I can help you. And by helping you, I mean tune in, let's talk. And so I set up this thing called Superpower Coffee Hour, which I actually didn't schedule this week. That reminds me I have to do it. But it's basically 15-minute slots on my calendar from 10:30 to 11:30 Eastern time for you to dial in on a Zoom and talk to me about anything you want. You want to pick my brain about marketing? Awesome. You want to talk about the Mets? Super. You want to tell me about how you're struggling? You need help? Great. You want a loan? Call me.
Like, if there's anything worse than COVID, it's the Mets. So take that out. If someone comes to you,
I'm a Phillies
talking
fan
about the Mets, then just, hey, listen, you're terminal. Your perspective is terminal. Your ability to make a choice and choose that team as a fan, you are terminal. I want to baptize you Yankee, and let's move forward. And I hope that you preach that being a Yankee fan will actually help you out of COVID.
I am grateful for you bringing that up. So I'm a Phillies fan. So I was saying that in the vein of
good.
I don't know if I can help you, but call me anyway. Right? I'm in the same boat as you are. So,
right on.
But what I want to get across is that people have signed up for the Superpower Coffee Hour. I have done some conversations about marketing and Facebook advertising, but we've also talked about things that are going on in West Virginia because that's where this person's from. I mean, you name it. We're talking about recipes, pasta recipes, like just whatever is on your mind. And what I'm finding with doing these, I'm calling them coronavirus diaries because I'm an idiot. And I'm giving it a name. I was challenged to do this, and I've done every single day except one day. And that one day was a mental health day for me. I didn't want to do it. I didn't feel like it. And if you don't like it, too bad. So I went from like day 20 to day 22. That's it. But I keep going. And here's what I'm going to say to you. I'm finding that the compassion that's in the videos and the fact that I'm bringing a pattern interrupt to all the negativity in your feed every day, some people are tuning in and liking it because I'm a goofball, right? You're always going to get something goofy out of it. And when I put my wife on camera, she's always flipping me the bird or something. So it's pretty entertaining. Some of them are boring, but some of them are very entertaining. My girls, day 24 or whatever it was, my girls took over my phone. I
saw that one.
You saw that one? Yeah. They quote unquote stole my phone, and people started asking them what their dad does. And to watch them try to answer what I do is hilarious. They have no idea. So all that stuff to say, the amount of interaction, engagement, conversation, and viewership I'm getting from doing that 5 minutes a day is sick. Like, I'm getting clients from it by accident, not because I'm asking for it, but because people are seeing me in their feed. They like what I'm about. We talked about this before. By the time I get to the house to sign the paperwork, you feel like you already knew me. So all I got to do now is not screw it up. So when you call me and you go, I really like your style, dude, and I need marketing, you're right. I want you to be the guy. It's happening by accident.
Yeah. No, it's not an accident. And again, this is relationships. You care, man. Like, you got challenged. You decided to do it. You think people need an interrupt and some positivity in their life, and you want to shed some light on that and help them in any way you can within a certain amount of time. And then because of all that give, they happen to like you, want to do business. I think what you're saying is there's no motive. If you decide to work with me, cool. Yeah. If you don't, great. This is not what that was for. It's for this. However, if during this time you decide that you enjoy me and you do want to take a step forward and you trust me with that because of how I took care of this, great. Well, I think that's what it is. It's definitely not an accident. You just give a shit, man.
You know what's funny too, man, is, our value has completely shifted. Since we've been going through this, we saw, people saw value in toilet paper, right? People see value in Lysol now.
Fuck.
But you know what's funny? One of the most valuable things you can offer somebody right now, social connection. That's exactly what you're doing. We are all so fucking isolated. We are all so hungry for that connection that by doing that, by giving people a consistent insight into your personal life and having your daughters on there and having your beers and stuff, the valuable thing is just social connection. Right. And it's just funny how value shifts literally overnight, man. And I think you may not even be aware of the value of your social connection, but just with you're probably subconsciously just feel, hey, if I'm feeling the desire to be social with other people and connect, other people
positive.
must be feeling that with me too.
And here's the deal. Doesn't mean that you're not worried about the news. Doesn't mean that you're not worried about the outcome of this. Doesn't mean that you're not worried about some other outcomes that could happen with people's careers. It just means that you understand you can't control those outcomes, but you can control your behavior and how you decide to approach every day. And just people doing that and leading by example, it empowers people. Right? It's huge.
Leaders lead, right? And I just think that it's one of these things that if you need help, because you said no motive, there is no business motive. My motive is that I want to make sure that if you're out there and you have no one to talk to, or you really are stressed and maybe you think, I had somebody connect with me and say, I'm feeling down. I'm a giver. I feel like I've always given. I'm hitting my wall and I just need some of that energy. And I'm like, bring it, bro. I got energy for weeks. Like I'm good with that. Let's do it. And one other thing there's actually two more things I wanted to tell you that I found to be accidentally amazing. And one of them is I set up a couple weeks ago a game night. And so you guys know what Kahoot is?
Way too cool for that. No, sorry.
Okay.
No. Go ahead.
Well, listen, my kids are in school, so they use it.
Is it an app?
It's like it's sort of an app, but it's also like a system. It's a gaming system.
Okay. I swear it was that thing you get with your AARP card. They give you like a member ID. You go into this app. You play like old people. No, I'm way off.
No.
Okay.
No, way off. Okay, so the kids use it in school to learn. It's basically like this thing, right? But they're using it in bars now for Quizzo. So now how the times have changed. You go into a bar, they hand you an iPad. You sign your team name up. They play the questions up on a TV screen, and you answer them on the iPad. It's crazy.
That's awesome.
It's pretty neat. Well, I figured out a way to merge it with Facebook Live, and I did a private event where we did 20 families. All different trivia for the kids, pop culture for the women.
Hey, back up a little bit, buddy. Your daughters must be playing Quizzo or whatever the hell it is at home.
You broke up for like 10 seconds.
Did you lose me?
Back up just a little bit. So
back up to right after I made fun of you for being old.
You connected it with Facebook. Yeah, you connected it with Facebook.
Okay. Wow, I was gone that long, huh?
Yeah, right.
So I basically figured out a way to connect it with Facebook. We invited 18 families. We invited 20. 18 showed up. We all jumped on a Zoom call. I created all these questions and fired up Kahoot so that they could all answer. So it was basically a Quizzo night from the comfort of your own couch.
Oh,
I
awesome.
did 4 categories that appealed to each level, like Disney for the kids, movies for the moms, sports for the guys, and then there was like a general category because I wanted to keep the kids involved too, right? Like you're home, you're stuck with 8 of your kids. This is what we're doing. And so it was like Saturday night at 7:30, we started it. And before the show, I said, listen, I want to make this a little more interesting and I want to do some good. So I'm going to donate $100 to the winner of this whole thing. And what I mean by that is you're going to tell me a local restaurant for you. I'm going to call the restaurant. I'm going to order you your dinner or whatever you want. And then we're going to have it sent to you whatever day you want. And that way you're getting rewarded for your win because you're smarter than everybody else. I feel like I'm doing something good. The restaurant has a couple bucks in their pocket to pay for their employees for the night, whatever. And we'll tip them, whatever. By the end of that, I had $300 donated. Doesn't sound like a lot, but I was then able to pick teams 1, 2, and 3. And the first team got $150 towards their restaurant of choice, $100 to the second place team, and $50 to the third place team. And I said, the only thing I want you to do is take pictures of you eating the food, opening whatever, take a picture of the whatever. People loved it. Like it was, and there was probably 80 people on the call. You figure 18 families, 4 apiece. My one cousin has 7 kids. So there was like a lot of kids on the call, but 80 people got a chance for an hour and a half to get away from this. And then 3 restaurants got a couple bucks towards them in this time. You know, like people were like, can we buy gift cards? I could care less. Do whatever you want. You won the money, take it. Just make sure it goes to a local place.
Right.
And the goodwill that served will last me for a long time. And it felt great. So I'm thinking about maybe doing a joke night. Right, do the same thing. Oh, everybody zooms in. You get on it. You get on the adult one though, Will. You can't be on the one with kids.
Oh, I got kids.
Smart
I can do.
man.
I
Smart
can do
move.
kids.
It's got to be clean. It's got to be clean. But same thing. Zoom call. Everybody gets muted. You come with one powerhouse joke, and then at the end of it, everybody gets the vote on the winner, and the winner gets that.
Oh, that's good, man.
I got a good one right now.
That's good.
I just can't say it.
You know what I hope, man. I just hope that people, maintain this sort of, just a sort of mentality after this is all done, man. Once we're all, reintegrated and everything is, more or less back to normal. I just hope that this is something that people kind of hold on to as, hey, you know, because honestly, man, it has been fun FaceTiming with the grandparents more often, you know, and like having virtual dinners with people and you getting creative and doing that. I hope people can still wrangle the kids and the families together enough to do these sort of things.
And I think
I agree with you. I think we got into a mini argument last night, my wife and I. She said, at the end of this, how are we going to have time to fit in everything that we missed? Like, in other words, you know that the dance classes are going to be cramming the recital stuff and the sports is going to be on a shortened season, but every night and like all this stuff's going to happen. And I'm like, we have to get really, really diligent at saying Tuesday and Thursday are family night and sorry, we can't make dance. And we're struggling with that already. And the lift hasn't even occurred yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good perspective. I think just take every day that you can. And when the saying unfolds, just be super blessed that you can go out and do some stuff, but still take it one day at a time. And you're probably going to have to prioritize a couple different things to make sure that they're worth it. And just try to find a way to be yourself. And you don't, in leadership, man, it's such a good word. It's such a controversial word. It's such an open-ended for perspective word as far as how you see yourself as a leader. If you are a leader, what people think are good leaders, what people think are not good leaders. But the bottom line is you don't have to lead everyone. Sometimes leading yourself is okay, and just understanding that, or sometimes just a little bit of give back. Even if it is just this game night and having fun and giving $50 towards something, you can plant a seed. You don't have to be a commander, but just planting a seed of positivity and just choosing to be good. There's more leadership in that, especially as you scale it, and I think people give credit. There's always got to be some, especially nowadays, man. And Gene and I live it because of my background and public speaking and people just wanting to romanticize or make certain things fancy. But the bottom line is it doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to over-romanticize it. There is brilliance and simplicity in just choosing to be good and choosing to give some of that good to someone else. It goes a lot further than people think. And I'm glad we had this. What a super refreshing podcast with you, man. I know we didn't get super duper tactical, but maybe that's not what people needed right now. I love how we let these podcasts and these conversations go where it may be, and learning some stories from you and some of where your perspective comes from. And maybe it was more important that people just have some perspective on themselves and really how to approach things. Because if you are doing all those things, then finding the digital marketing side or how to get creative right now in this time, it's going to come very natural to you.
Yeah. No, listen, I appreciated you guys. We've always had a fun relationship from day one, $0 of us meeting on another podcast.
Yeah.
I just said, these guys are my kind of people. If they were in my backyard, it would be fun to hang with them at the gym or at the bar, whatever.
I'm not fun in the gym, Gene. I'll crush you. I'm not fun in the gym.
That's what you might think, my man.
No, I mean, literally, if the second you started beating me, I would throw a weight at you and I would crush you. If that wasn't a metaphor, I would literally crush you.
That makes sense.
That's funny.
No, it was fun. I remember popping on the first time I saw it and you were just like, who is this guy? I think it literally came out of your mouth. And I'm just like, wow. What a cool
Well, you
cat.
remember the second episode we were on together when the cops came to the car?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's when you were doing all that weird stuff in your car, huh? And the cops came.
Yeah. We'll get into that. We're going to get
yeah, leave that
Well,
to the
Gene,
imagination.
where can people find you, man? If they want more Genevelope, where can they find you?
Right at genevelope.com. And just GeneVolpe, genevolpe.com. And there's, just so everybody knows, there's a little widget that'll pop up, and there's a way for you, or just info@genevolpe.com. If you want to get on the Superpower Coffee Hour, you just want to rap, you want to know some marketing tips for free. I mean, this is all free stuff. I'm not asking for anything out of anybody other than their time. So just tell me that Will and Eli sent you, and I will give you the super duper treatment.
Cool. Better than we get, because he ain't giving me the super treatment. He's gonna give everyone he gets from me, like just like plotting people against me. You know what I mean? Like, it'll be fun, man. And I'm sure we're gonna have you, back in. We've got a couple of friends of ours, kind of like how Joe Rogan does it. He just has some of his friends that are always gonna be around and always on, that provide value, and it's great. And I'm sure you're gonna be one of those guys, man, where whenever we get an opportunity every once in a while, especially after COVID and looking at what post COVID looks like, and where you're seeing some stuff in the digital marketing world and how to get people better. But it'll be fun to have you back on. And if you ever want to invite us to these games, we can pretend. I can pretend to not be perfect and lose if you need me to.
I would never take that from you, man. You can go all out, bro.
Hey,
there you go.
Fake it till you make it, I guess. I don't know. I'm gonna ride that one. I'm gonna ride that one. But hey, Gene, stay on the line for a second, man. We're gonna exit this out, and then we'll chat with you for a second, guys. But everybody else, happy Monday. I hope you took something from this. I think a lot of these stories that unfold with some of these guests, I think a lot of us can relate to in our own form, or at least reflect back on what we've been through. But please try to take that the best you can and just choose to be good.
It's good.
Happy
I
Monday.
Like it. I like it. Happy Monday, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Day $1 out.
I'ma slip it on down and turn it up. Southbound and we trailblazing, yeah, bud. And the posse dirty, filthy like a strip club. Dropping bombs out the gate, bringing big guns. Raw records, we the stake, we the A1. Speak up and we know where we came from. Welcome to the posse, let me hear you.
A blanket on the game, long clutch, they heated, retreated. All the same, but exemptions are needed. Spit cup is insane and the team is completed. Switch it, lane to lane.